joined by the New Japan Strong Openweight champion. And I believe he has a title with us. Look at that bad boy. It is Fred Rosser, your new Strong Openweight champion. How do you feel, my guy?
Mr. No Days Off is in the house again, and my pride gets stronger and stronger every second, every minute, every hour, every day. And to be able to represent New Japan Strong, I hate to say it, but I'm going to say I am, in fact, the people's champion of New Japan Strong.
People's champion of New Japan Strong. You heard it here first. I love that, Fred, and you seem so happy to be a champion. It's your first singles championship. I know that you had a WWE Tag Team run, but is this the biggest title win of your career?
Listen, I'm always happy, always happy. You know, negativity only affects me when you're on the same frequency. So for me, I studied and I prayed and I studied and I prayed and I studied and I prayed, and my dream came true of becoming the new Strong Openweight Championship. In fact, this is my first major singles championship. I've said it in many interviews. I've done my thing as a Nexus. I've done my thing as a primetime player. I did my thing with Bob Backlund. But now on the marquee for New Japan Strong, it says Mr. No Days Off Fred Rosser, the Strong Openweight Championship.
So it would seem that you consider this bigger than any title win at this point.
You know, I've watched the match with Tom Lawlor and I dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and it was a defining moment for me because the final seconds leading up to the finish of the match, it didn't matter whether I was black, gay, straight, it did not matter. The people in attendance in Philadelphia, they were rooting for me to win. And the reaction was different. It was like a roar from the crowd. Like it was like a last second buzzer, you know, in basketball, or a field goal in football. It was the roar from the ECW arena crowd was something I'll never forget. So it was a defining moment for me, and we're making progress. We still have a lot of work to do, but it was that moment when I won the championship that it didn't matter. All the people wanted me to do was win.
And you touched on something very important to me. This is what I love about this. The fact that I do believe you're the first openly gay New Japan champion of any kind, but that was really one of the last things that came to my mind. When I saw you win that title, I was like, oh my God, Fred pulled this off. I remember talking to you before you even entered New Japan Strong and just seeing your journey. That's what came to my mind. So the fact that it's being normalized to be gay in wrestling, that all really helped start with you and you coming out years and years ago, to where now when you won the title, it's like, yeah, of course Fred won the title. He worked hard for it, and he's the man for that championship. So how does that make you feel that it's more normalized, even though we do have more progress?
You know, I'm not the first and I'm not the last to come out, but I did make a decision to come out, making me the first openly gay WWE Superstar to be signed. So representation is key. And I want people at the end of the day to either see me on the big screen, on social media, and say to themselves, well, if he can do it, then so can I. And I did it just with hard work and just put my head down and just moving forward and trying to have the best matches possible with each and every person that I shared the ring with New Japan. You know, I just put my head down and went to work. So
that's great to see. And you did mention the primetime players with Titus O'Neil. And I did recently read that Titus reached out and he congratulated you and was very publicly praising you in terms of your title win. What kind of communications have you guys had behind the scenes following your title win?
Yeah, we still communicate on social media. He's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. We both support one another. And yeah, I believe there's room for everyone at the finish line. The one thing I learned from Titus is closed mouths don't get fed. You know, if you want something, you have to go after it. And he learned from me how to be a performer in the ring, how to wrestle and all that other craziness. So we both always complimented each other very well. And yeah, I always say none of us are as strong as all of us. So he's a big ally of mine. I'm a supporter of him. And yeah, we're doing great.
Now we're in kind of a renaissance period when it comes to wrestling promotions, whether it's championships or whatnot. And I do feel that it's more important than ever to separate the meaningful championships from each other and distinguish them. So with that Openweight championship, what does that title itself mean to you? That you're the Openweight champion. What does that belt mean to you to make it such a prestigious championship?
You know, it's sacred to me. You know, New Japan Strong, this championship is sacred to me. And when something is sacred to you, you treat it differently. You know, you take your doggone shoes off, because where you stand is holy ground. And New Japan Strong is holy ground to me. This is something I prayed about, cried about. Literally minutes before I walked out for my championship match, I was sobbing like a baby backstage. I'm a grown man. I'll be 39 November 2nd, and I was sobbing like a baby because I didn't know whether it was going to be my last match in New Japan Strong or if I was going to make history. So New Japan is sacred to me, and there's so much wrestling out there, and no one should be fooled into picking a brand over another. Just watch it all, enjoy it all. New Japan Strong is like the NXT of wrestling. I stay in my lane, and that's what's gotten me this far, by staying in my lane. Tyler Perry, we all know Tyler Perry. One of my favorite quotes from Tyler Perry is, God gave us all a lane, and no one can beat us if we just stay in our lane and keep pushing forward. And the three things that have gotten me this far, 3 life hacks, are 3 things that I live by. 1, surround yourself around people who light up anytime you walk into a room. 2, slowest is the fastest way to get to where you want to be. And number three of one of my favorite life hacks is, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next. So we've got to keep climbing. We've got to keep pushing forward, both of us.
Really love your positive message and motivational story. And you did mention staying in your lane, but I believe one lane a lot of people wanted to see you in is a forbidden door in terms of AEW x New Japan. Of course, we saw Clark Connor shine on that card. We've seen him in New Japan Strong. And I would like to see you at a forbidden door event. I know that Tony Khan seems bullish about having a forbidden door next year. Is that something you'd be excited about on your bucket list? And who would you like to face from AEW in a forbidden door match?
John Moxley. I say it. I've said it in interviews, and I'll say it again. John Moxley. I believe he would bring the best out of me, and vice versa. I don't think people would expect us to have a banger match, but I really feel deep in my heart that we would have a banger. You know, working with Tom Lawlor, you know, a lot of people don't like competition. A lot of people do not like competition, but I love competition. I take it head on. You know, I like when a son bitch is better than me, because it's going to push me to go further. It's going to push me to be sharp in the ring and to be on my game. So I love Tom Lawlor, and I love John Moxley. I would love to share the ring with him. Like I said, we would both bring the best out of one another. And, you know, there could be a forbidden door. You know, I hear maybe in Japan. So a bucket list of mine is definitely working in Japan, doing Forbidden Door in Japan, or maybe someday working with AEW. You know, I've made it public that they've said no to me not once, but twice. But WWE also said no to me over 40 times, and I did not take no for an answer. I put my head down, like I said earlier, and went to work.
Yeah, and I think you and John Moxley would be a highly physical match. I mean, just thinking of the styles clash, I think would be very amazing to watch in the ring. But what about a match between you and Anthony Bowens? Okay, somebody who followed in your footsteps in terms of trailblazing LGBTQ. And I only say that because, to our point earlier, I feel like a match between you and Anthony Bowens, what would stand out is how great that match would be, even though it wouldn't make history as potentially the first 2 gay athletes at a major wrestling pay-per-view. But once we saw the match, I think the match would take front and center stage, and that would be a beautiful moment. So you and Anthony Bowens at a Forbidden Door event, does that interest you?
Well, as Vince McMahon would say, never say never in the world of wrestling entertainment. So that's my worst Vince McMahon impersonation, but never say never. Anthony is making moves in AEW. I would love him to scissor me, but he's got to understand that when he gets in the ring with Mr. No Days Off, I'm a different breed. My style is different. You cannot prepare for me. Kevin Kelly has said it the best. You can't prepare for me. You don't know what I'm going to do. I could headbutt you. I could do a moonsault. I don't do a lot of moonsaults. Very rare that I pull something out like that, but you just don't know how to prepare for me. And I'm a different breed in the ring. It's not nothing fancy about me. The one thing that I get excited over are people. Again, I always say my social media is an open diary to the world. So anyone that follows me or watches my stuff on social media, I want them to feel inspired, motivated, and educated by what I'm doing. And my biggest high is people that aren't wrestling fans. They DM me and they say, "Oh, are you okay? Oh, man, Tom Lawlor, that was disgusting. He ate your hair, not once, but twice. Like, you're bleeding all over the place. Like, are you okay?" And, we are in the entertainment business, but believability is so important to me. Don't use the word F with me, because, it's real enough for me to have caused 3 surgeries, you know what I mean? So never use the F word with me. This is as physical as it gets. New Japan Strong is my home, and I'm so happy to represent.
I think you and Anthony Bowens scissoring would be worth the price of admission alone on a pay-per-view. But you mentioned this in terms of AEW turning you down twice, and we talked about that before. So the fact that you weren't on the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, I would consider that them turning you down a 3rd time. Does that piss you off? Are you at all disappointed and motivated by the fact that you were not on the Forbidden Door card this time around?
You know what motivates me the most is, of all people, my dad. My dad is the person that got me into wrestling. And I could show you, if you and I were together, I could show you text messages from him saying, "Why ain't you signed to AEW? Everyone else is getting signed. You feel small." I'm like, your own dad is saying this to you? So he was at the ECW arena when I won the championship, and I really wanted to just shove this title in his face and say, "Look, are you proud of me, Dad? Are you proud of me?" But I didn't. I showed him. I said, "Look, I did it, Dad," and he gave me a hug and everything. My dad's my biggest hater, and he motivates me to push forward. Like, never settle, never settle. Again, WWE told me no over 40 times. I don't take no for an answer. So I've just got to keep pushing forward. And if it's meant to be, it'll happen. But I don't like to force anything in wrestling. But my dad, my biggest hater, I'm always trying to prove him wrong because he's the one that got me into wrestling. So he's a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. So yeah, he motivates me to push forward because all he wants to do is see me on TV and brag to his friends about me being on TV. So he's unhappy with me being on the internet, which I'm very grateful and happy with being on the internet and all other social media platforms. But he wants to see me on the big screen again. So it's been a while since I've been on the big screen. 2017 with WWE. When I got released. So again, never say never.
Yeah, and I love that energy from you because it is cancer season right now. I am a male Cancer. We tend to be a little petty, but we don't forget anything. And we do use stuff like that to motivate us. I remember every negative thing anybody's ever said about me, and I used it for motivation too. So you're in good company this cancer season, Fred, and I really love to hear that. I do want to know, though, now that you're Openweight champion, a lot of talent in New Japan Strong. I've been to a couple events there, and I'm always blown away. Who do you think is the biggest threat to your run as New Japan Strong Openweight champion?
Tom Lawlor was a fighting champion. He defended the championship with pride, honor, dignity. Even though he was filthy, even though he was a complete asshole to me and my family, he defended the title and he backed it up. So I hope I can only be as good of a champion as he was. For me, my head's on a swivel. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who my next challenger is. I just don't know. I just have to study and prepare. When I find out who the next challenger, who the first challenger for the Strong Openweight Championship, I've got to do what I always do. Study and pray, study and pray. So I just don't know. I could say Fred Yehi. I could say Hikuleo. I could say Clark Connors. I could say Bateman. I could say so many superstars in New Japan Strong. I just don't know. But when you find out who my next opponent is, for missing no days off, it's gonna be time to go to work.
Well, for what it's worth, I would love to see you and Hikuleo mix it up again. I remember last time you guys had a very physical brawl, and I thought it was amazing. And I think you guys were just scratching the surface, and he's gotten so much better. So yeah, I'm very excited for this run. This is going to be amazing. And I'm very excited for you, Fred. You just, every time I talk to you, you've gone further in life. And I don't think that's a coincidence that your positive mindset has now put you in these great positions. So congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm sure there's going to be more to come.
You know, I've got to steal it from Denzel, which is the truth. You know, put God first in everything you do. I think you've heard him say that before in a lot of montage, because he's one of my favorite actors when it comes to like studying people, studying their message, studying their behavior. It's always been, you know, I said it then and I'll still say it because I still love Will Smith with all he's done, but he's been a big inspiration in his social media presence. The Rock, Denzel, Matthew McConaughey. So Tom Hanks said it the best, you're dope if you don't steal from the greats. And anytime I step into the ring, especially, I don't steal moves from the greats. I steal their intent behind it. With Tom Lawlor, I tombstoned, he had me in a choke, and somehow I slipped into a tombstone pile driver. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what would The Undertaker do? The Undertaker might just see the pad on the floor on the outside and see the concrete and just say, if he's in the ring with Shawn Michaels, he might step onto the concrete to try to end Shawn Michaels and tombstone him. So I'm stealing the intent behind why they do what they do. So, you know, so I come off the apron with a seated senton. I steal from Mick Foley. Mick Foley back in the day would always do that running apron elbow to the outside. So you're dope if you don't steal from the greats. And I'm not stealing, like I said, their moves. I'm stealing the intent behind why they do what they do. So always studying here.
I completely understand that. I know you were just on the Comedy Store podcast with comedians, and I do stand-up comedy, and I very much identify with that ideology in that you don't ever want to steal jokes. That's pretty much will get you out of the comedy community. But if you look at the greats and some of their techniques, how they open a set, how they pace their jokes, how they get the audience to laugh as a comedian, when you watch that, it's like, oh God, that's so smart what he just did. I'm going to try this with this joke I already wrote with that technique. And I completely understand that. So that's wonderful. And I'm just rooting for you, Fred. So I look forward to see what you got next in your first title defense.
No, thank you. We talk about comedians. One of my favorite is Paul Mooney.
Oh, that's my favorite. Number one for me.
See, just the way he delivers it. Like he could say something and just keep a straight face. And I'm just crying, laughing. You know, my mom and I are big comedian fans, and she actually lived out in California back in the 80s to pursue comedy for 6 months. 6 months she failed. She moved back to New Jersey. So her and I, favorite comedian, Paul Mooney, it's just the way he delivers the stuff, you know, with a straight face, and he's awesome, you know. And for us to love Paul Mooney, we know what works and what doesn't.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Fred. I really appreciate talking to you, and good luck. Not that you need it, but good luck in everything that you do.
I need it, man. I need it. Listen, for me, you know, being strong champion, New Japan Strong Champion, like they ask me, do you need this? Do you need that? No, don't treat me like I'm a young lion. You know, I'm very grateful. You know, the journey to get here was very long, very long. And if I would have known all the ups and downs that I would have had to go through, I would have probably threw in the towel a long time ago. But like I always do, when I go to sleep in the morning, I put my flip-flops under my bed. So when I wake up in the morning, I can get on my knees and thank God for everything he's done for me. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I believe there's a higher power out there that has led me to the big dance. And I just got to keep moving forward, you know, block the hate, salute the great Mr. No Days Off, baby.
Absolutely. Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alfred. Anytime.